I'm out here today at Kazama Auto. You might remember this place from a previous video where I came out and bought a whole bunch of parts to go on my JZX100 Mark II project. Well, the Mark II is here today and all those parts have been installed, including some from, believe it or not, the USA and Canada. The Mark II is here for a wheel alignment and sort of a basic, see what needs to be done to the car, see what I need to change to get it into a driftable state. But before we go in there and show you what's going on, let's go back to the amazement workshop where I had all the parts installed and show you exactly what is going on the car. So here's how the car looked the other week. Rear end is gone, front end is gone. One of the big things on this car I really wanted to sort out was the rear end. Because the Mark IIs are starting to get a bit old, the rear end starts to get a bit loose in me. See that huge crack? There's another one. In the bushings for the diff. A common thing for these cars is to make a bonk sound when you change gears hard, and that's the whole diff moving around. So these big bushings do wear out and cause that problem. And this is what I'm changing them with. These very nice Serial 9 parts. Actually, I'll put them up on the counter. I got into contact with Gerard from Serial 9 and he hooked me up with all these parts. This is the rear cradle mounts here and here, and also the diff mounts here. Basically replacing these rubber ones with these solid ones here, and these rear cradle mounts with these solid ones. So this goes on like that, and these ones will go in here like that. So these solid mounts go in, and this one goes up underneath like that. So all the way from Canada, Serial 9 parts. Keen to see how these go on the Mark II. So that's the bushing and mount situation taken care of. And here's the cradle out of the rear end of the Mark II, as you can see, missing. What can happen with these when you run those worn out mounts, the diff can jackhammer around and cause the cradle to crack. And now we're going to be running solid mounts, so I got a strengthening kit all the way from Florida, believe it or not. Odyssey Fab sent over their strengthening kit, so Nobu has already started on this one, this plate here. This is part of the kit. The rest of it is, here's some parts here and here. Sorry, they do look a bit rusty right now. So thank you Odyssey Fab for sending those over. I have a link to all these parts in the description, by the way, if you want to check them out. Now next, you can watch the previous video where I go to Kazama and buy all these if you like. This is the lower arm, traction rod. Right, all of them fully adjustable. That is going to be the rear end, absolutely sorted out. We've got the mounts from Serial 9, the arms from Kazama Auto, and the bracing from Odyssey Fab. We're going to end up with a pretty stout rear end, of which there is currently nothing. As you would have seen on the previous video, Kazama Auto lengthened arms. All right, these are one piece, they're not welded, so these are street legal. You can actually pass registration with these, believe it or not. Then we have Kazama Auto shortened knuckles, which are also one piece. Where's the other one? So these are also one piece, not welded, so this means street legal. And to go with those, some lengthened tie rods as well. So front end also all by Kazama Auto, and also lengthened tie rod ends with a little kink in them. So these go with the tie rods. We're not changing the upper arm just yet. We might do that a bit later, but just for now, we'll be using this stuff. Also this thing here, a brand new clutch for the fan. These are really expensive. I didn't know how much they cost, but at least we'll have no problems with worrying about the clutch fan being too weak and causing cooling problems later on. Yeah, it's not too bad, but it did lock up when I went snow drifting and smoke did come out, which is generally not a good idea for these sorts of parts. So I just thought I'd be safe and get another one. Remember, we're going to be using Coilover cooling parts as well. Also engine mounts, just replacing these with some Kazama Auto engine mounts. Since it's going to be in here, replace these at the same time. Because why not? And also, why not? I bought this last time as well, the Kuni's steering rack bushings. So we're basically removing all, play and slack and slop from the rear end and the front end, just to make it as fun and responsive as possible, while still being street legal and street drivable. Well, I don't know how drivable it's going to be on the street, how comfortable it'll be, but Who cares? It's gonna be cool. The previous suspension I ran on the car with these Aragosta coilovers, and they were really good. The damping and just everything about them made the car really easy to drive. So instead of going for one of the brands that a lot of the other drivers use these days, I decided to go for Aragostas once again. Aragosta is a Japanese company, but it's made in Holland by a company called AST that does a lot of suspension, race suspension and stuff like that. This is the model that's sold by Ito Auto, and it's the top shelf model. Nice. And what makes these ones good is they have a lot of suspension droop. So on tracks like Ebisu Circuit and Nikko Circuit, where the suspension needs to move around a lot, they can handle that and keep the tires on the ground, which means more grip at more acceleration. You see it's got helper springs as well to keep the springs in place when you're flying over those jumps on Minami. Because remember, this is going to be a street car and a track car. Like the old ones, they ran really plush on the street, even for a drift car. So looking forward to seeing how these ones perform. Because that's what a JZX is about, you know? It's about having a full interior, right? Being able to take your friends around. And I'm going to replace this seat with an actual bucket seat, but... Oh, by the way, I do have a shift knob. Actually, is it in the car? No, it's not. I do have a shift knob that Serial 9 sent me as well. I guess I'll have to show that next time. I put it on my van. Gerard, I'm sorry. I put it on my van instead of this car. So, those are all the parts being installed on the car before they were installed. So let's cut back to me, I assume, picking up this car and taking it for an alignment. なんで笑ってる？はみたい。はみたい。Yeah. It's a bit far out. Alright, so first thing you can see here. Now, with the spacer on, it all clears, this is fine, but so these tie rod ends are usually labeled left and right, and they are installed correctly, but as you can see, it's just barely hitting the tension rod nut. We're going to take these off and install them the other way around. They're labeled left and right, but they do recommend putting them on the other way around here for that reason. Well, so this car has always had TRD brakes installed on, which are about the same size as Supra, because it actually takes Supra pads. But the nut for these really short knuckles is very, very close. 大変ですね. I did this a long time ago. This is a fairly standard mod you have to do on JZXs. Modify the firewall there a bit, but I don't think it's enough. Kobe actually didn't think it was enough, so he's finishing the job. There you go, you got about a finger's width there, so should be okay. 地面に置けばまた位置変わるんで。黒くしておけば次当たったところがわかる。It's not pretty, but who's looking there anyway? This seam here is normally sitting out about another 2 centimeters further out. So that's been pushed flat, and then this whole thing has been pushed in so the wheel won't hit it at lock. So here's the thing, my wheels are all the same size and they're all 18 by 10.5. Now you're probably thinking 10.5 is way too big for the front, and you're kind of right. With this new setup, 10.5s with 265 series tires will probably not fit too well on the front. So the wheels currently installed they're the Work Emotion CR Kai Kiwamis. So I'll just have a quick look on the internet and see what size I think suits, and might have to order those today. And here's the setup we have now with these knuckles. Tie rod end is nowhere close to those bolts, and even with these wheels, it's just barely clearing. Of course, we still have to adjust the toe. So we should be okay. But it's looking good so far. We've got some decent angle on the front. CR Kai Kiwami 18 by 9.5 in probably a plus 12. Might be a good idea. I don't know, I just like these wheels for some reason. They're good. And they're quite light for such a big wheel too. If you look at it from front on, it's sticking out a bit, which is sort of a no-go for a street car. I'm going to order some smaller wheels from the front because this is not really going to work. If the wheel was in any further, it's going to start hitting stuff on the inside, and I don't want that. But for now, looks good. どうも
Nice.
Nice. おまわりさん怒っちゃうでしょ Now the car's up in the air, we can see the completed rear end. We've got the rigid Serial 9 diff mounts on the back and solid bushings on the front. That should get rid of that annoying JZX bonk when you change gears, that banging sound, and stiffen up the rear end. Next is the Odyssey Fab strengthening kit, which has gone from a bunch of little steel plates to a nice strong rear subframe that's sort of welded here and there, bracing the suspension mounting points and potential cracking points around the rear diff. All the Kazama Auto full set of lower arms strengthening things up even more, and of course the Aragosta suspension from Ito Auto. Rear end complete. We're on lunch break right now, and there's some other parts I want to show as well. Always been a big fan of this style of Nardi steering wheel, and the lads at Driftworks have hooked me up with one of their 330mm suede deep corns. This is pretty much the most perfect wheel that I would have liked for this car. So good for wearing gloves. Got the suede, little leather center marker, and of course got a bit of a dish on it, which I like the way that feels in my hands. So thank you very much, Driftworks. This will be going on this car for sure. And some stickers too. Thank you very much, Driftworks. Perfect steering wheel. So one other thing making this an even more international build, this Link G4 Plus. So this video isn't about tuning, but I really wanted to show you this part as soon as I could. So this here is a board that replaces the stock one, and it's the brand new JZX100 replacement. Take the stock ECU out and replace it with this board here. The ECU and wiring is still currently in this disgusting predicament here. Here's the ECU, the engine controls. So you take out what's inside here and replace it with that board. This thing here. So we're not really talking too much about this today, but I'd just like to say thank you very much, Link, for sending this through so quickly, brand new for the JZX100 model. Of course, the JZX hopefully is going to get more and more popular around the world because it is such a good car. All right, lunch break over, back into it. This is a bit different to how I do it at Ebisu with like 2 blocks of wood and a tape measure and a lap of the circuit to see how it feels. -4 camber on both sides and 0.3 toe. So this will be good for the street. I know a lot of people are probably thinking you need to lower this more, make it look cool, but this car has to be able to handle every single circuit there is, and that includes Ebisu, so no super low ride heights. This suspension has a lot of travel too, so it needs the stroke. I pretty much decided that I'm not going to be using these 10.5 inches on the front. I'm going to order some more work emotion wheels that are a bit more of a matching size to the front of this car. But something I was always going to do was install these over fenders on the front here to give that extra bit of clearance. And even with these huge wheels, it just barely fits. So once I run some smaller wheels and tires, it'll be much better. But while we're here, we might as well just install these on now. Yeah, what do you do? You put it, take that in. No, Kobayashi Radius, the fender, and now we're putting on the bolt-on over fender. This is a piece made by Wonder. It's part of their Glare body kit range. It's actually meant for an S13 or 180SX. These fenders are also by Car Modify Wonder. They're Mark II JZX100 fenders. I forget how big they are, but they're not quite big enough for this level of spiciness. Also, there's a typhoon that's about to hit Tokyo this weekend. It's been raining almost all day. Kampeki. That looks really good. Yeah. いいんじゃない? Alright, just to try it out, we got a 9.5. What's the size?
945 plus 12.
Plus 12. Okay, so I was thinking about getting a set of wheels this size. So this is with a 9.5 plus 12. So I think getting a set of 9.5 plus 12 with a 10mm spacer instead of the 30mm spacer will be perfect. It's not quite 100%, but just for now, I'll run these, and when I get the new wheels, I'll put them on. All right. I gotta be honest, I didn't think it'd have this much angle, but it does. And I'm 100% okay with that. Kekka okay, good. All right. So here's the Mark II as it stands after getting all the arms and suspension done. One step closer to actually getting onto a track. So a big thanks to all the parts suppliers. Kazama Auto, of course, who did the work on it here today. Serial 9 over in Canada for the bushings, and of course Odyssey Fab for the rear strengthening kit. The engine is still stock turbo. It doesn't really run that well, and to be honest, I'm still not sure exactly what route I'm going to go with power, but with the pace this project is going along with right now, it shouldn't be too long before we get it to a workshop. Yeah, that's all from today. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Next is the Odyssey Fab Stream Strengthening Kit.